You're going to snap, correct? Welcome to Mr. President. On today's show, we'll be discussing several different topics about our country. We'll hear opinions on these topics from people from different walks of life. First, we have the topic of voting, and if it really matters. Let's see what our interviewees have to say about it.
It does. Every American's vote matters, especially in this election that's contentious, and there doesn't seem to be a clear sign of who the front runners are or what the issues they will tackle. I think it's very important that every American that's able to exercise their democratic right to vote, that's the least that we can do in this country.
If your vote mattered, it would be worth your time.
Sure, but not by much. It's a very small percentage of the state.
I think our vote does matter. However, if you live in a state like we do, unfortunately it's an overwhelmingly Democratic state, and even if I chose to vote Republican in our county, it's not going to matter much when we have such a huge city that's overwhelmingly Democratic, which will just pretty much rule out that vote.
Now that we've heard about voting and how it truly matters, let's hear what our interviewees have to say about our presidential candidates.
I think there are on both sides. I think the pomp and pageantry of the debates have kind of clouded that. I think there are talented people on both sides. You're seeing Bloomberg come to the Republican Party now and perhaps launch a Republican candidacy or independent candidacy. He's a talented individual. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, you have to acknowledge that. There are smart people and qualified people on both sides. Unfortunately, I think the circus of this election has kind of taken over. But as we get closer and get through these caucuses, as we get into places like Ohio and Texas and Illinois and California and Florida, where there are bigger voting, larger voting blocks, I think you'll see some more of the moderate mainline candidates who stand for American principles surface. So I hope the Trump phenomenon will be over by then, and then we'll get down to serious business of solving the problems that we have here at home as well as those challenges that we face internationally.
I think every election turns out to be which politician is favoring the general consensus. Every candidate is always placating to the voter, and they may do a really fantastic job of doing that, but in the end you're just picking who's the best out of the worst. It always feels that way anyway. I love to see a candidate that maybe would stand up a little bit more and just speak their mind freely. If you like what they have to say, you like what they have to say, but at least they stand by their own principles and they don't care. And I haven't seen that yet. And to be honest, Donald Trump, he does like to speak his mind, but he's the biggest idiot I've ever seen in my life.
Just that Trump has some that he's not afraid to stand and say what he believes in and what he thinks. That's about it. I think the other ones are more worried about kissing the public, trying to win their vote. Again, that doesn't matter because they need a job. They don't care about you. They just need a job. Trump too. But at least Trump's got some over the other. Well, one candidate has no at all. Yeah, so that's it.
After hearing everything the candidates have to say about these topics that are important to our country, we will be able to make a well-informed vote according to our beliefs on the different subjects. Next up, what are some of the things that we would like to see changed in our nation?
Leaders and institutions to be more transparent with the American population, the voting bloc. I really feel as though we can be active participants as well if we understand not only the issues, but behind the scenes, how are these issues being tackled. honestly, by politicians. And I think there's a cry since the Obama administration for this type of transparency. And that's still a challenge that this administration, I believe, faces, and the one that will take over after the election of 2016. So more transparent government would be an interest of mine. Educationally, I'd like to see greater educational access to students, whether they are citizens or undocumented citizens. I'm a principal and an educator by trade, so that's near and dear to my heart. The tough part will be for Congress to come together and figure out a way, but on a simple scale, Wisconsin, what I would encourage our governor to do is to go back on a policy that he changed when he entered office, and that is to allow undocumented workers to pay, or undocumented students to pay in-state tuition instead of out-of-state or international tuition. A lot of my students who go on, whether they are documented or undocumented, are barred from higher education because of the cost. And if they allowed them to have in-state tuition, I think that would increase the pool of students from my school that could go on and access higher education. But as a nation, I'm interested in hearing both sides talk about how they're going to make college more affordable to working class families.
I think our primary focus in the United States should really be taking care of the people who are here. Unfortunately, we're so concerned with international relationships, trade, business, what's going on in the rest of the world, we forget truly the people who are here in need, the lower class, the middle class, the people without jobs, education, the fundamental things that I think our country really, really needs.
Obama not in presidency.
Insurance is not fun to deal with at all, at least for me personally. 'Cause I just get insurance just to be legal so I don't get fined, and I don't see that being beneficial at all. I don't even get insurance health-wise to go to the doctor. I get insurance so I'm not fined next year when it comes to taxes.
Well, I think
Change can push us forward or knock us back. But what are the most important things that need to be taken into consideration for change to take place? What do we need to be focused on at the moment? Let's have a look.
the plate here of national and international concerns that I think weigh heavy on American hearts. Those nationally would be, for me personally, immigration. I think that's an important question of our day that we need to remedy. Too many prior administrations, both Republican and Democrat, have, in my opinion, passed the buck on sensible immigration policy, especially for my Latino students here at Badger High School and throughout the country. Time is precious, their education is hanging in the balance, and while we debate this in Congress, their opportunities are slipping through the cracks, and so I'd like that addressed with all deliberate speed. Economy, for sure. We're still faltering whether we're in a recession or recovery, and I think that weighs heavy on American homes, and especially here in southeastern Wisconsin and our students' homes. That'll be addressed. Internationally, I think safety, terrorism, but more importantly than that, I think global cooperation, economically, agriculturally, in terms of saving our planet from the ills of capitalism, even though I'm a capitalist, but from industry and how to protect the planet and work along with industry to make this a safe planet for our generations to come. Those would be some top issues that would concern me, and I hope that would come to the forefront in this election.
Oof. I think the United States should be focused on their own people. I think that's the biggest thing. We should be focused on healthcare. We're one of the only countries in the United States that does not provide healthcare for its citizenship. We expect the people to purchase their own healthcare, which is not necessarily a great thing. There's plenty of other countries all over the world that have socialized medicine that works. There aren't people that are waiting for heart surgery for years to get it. They get the proper medical care that they need. And if they need additional services or perhaps better facilities, they pay for an additional healthcare premium that allows them to have that. The United States forces the people here to get insurance that the insurance companies are too controlling and overpricing everything.
the people living on the streets, the middle class people that struggle day to day, and yeah, that's what we should be focused on. Not giving the rich tax breaks and letting them ride easy the street and sit in an office.
I think
What about outside our borders? Next, we'll hear about international relations with other countries and ourselves.
they can, especially in this age where we're all concerned. Americans, Germans, Brits, Chinese, every citizen of this planet is concerned about their own safety and economic well-being. I think we have to cooperate. World leaders have to get together, and they have historically. But I found within our own country, in terms of our own Congress, we've had kind of a stall in that area of communication, and it hasn't been bipartisan, it's been very partisan. I see that also globally, where leaders have to get together to solve world problems. We can't do it ourselves as an American nation. We need cooperation from other world leaders that are interested in similar outcomes. And so very important that our world leaders get together and tackle these problems. And whoever it is, Democrat or Republican, that's the next leader, cannot be an isolationist. We have to reach out to world leaders and solve these problems together.
Absolutely. I think they could be more fair. I think international trade is something that should be a little bit more designed to work in favor for both countries. As we're one of the largest consumers in the world, we should also consider ourselves for our own exports. As we trade goods with other countries, I think it should be a little bit more of an equal manner. As we take, we should also give. This would have the United States have a stronger point in international exports from our country, thus giving the United States more of an income to work with.
No, they're too good. I think we need to focus more on us and not on every other country surrounding us. I understand we need allies, but we don't need to be over there holding their hand.
I think
Coming back to the U.S. for the question, or the next question, I believe this question is one of the most important. Does this country still stand for and represent the principles it was founded on?
I think it does. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, just to name a few. I believe it in fact does. How we go about it is the art form. This debate has been very cantankerous and hostile at times, and that's new for some. But historically, some of the debates between the Republican Party members with themselves are really light fare compared to the way it's been historically with our founding fathers. They used to have dueling going on after debates and events that were political, and we've civilized ourselves a little bit, even though at times today it doesn't seem so. So I believe we do stand for the same principles that we were founded on. I don't think we've enfranchised every member of the American community with that. I think people with disabilities, I think we have race relations that we need to improve upon. Gender equality is something that's near and dear to me as an administrator and an educator here at school. So we still have areas that we have to improve on, but I still think the basic building blocks are there and they're being addressed, and we're talking about them in a very democratic debate.
No, I think America has become too socially acceptable. Everything is in the gray. We don't want to say something in a particular way that's going to be either disrespectful to one group or another. I think our fundamental values, mostly Christian values, in the United States have been lost. It's a sad sight to see.
To an extent, but that's been compromised how many times? People talking about it, talking about changing the Constitution. Shouldn't change the Constitution. It's put there 300 years ago for a reason.
Now that we've heard opinions about our country sticking to its roots, where are we headed in the future?
I'm optimistic. Again, being the center of my life around education, as I see our students graduate here from Badger High School, I'm very optimistic of what the future holds. I think we have students that are going on to the workforce and also to the college level, and they'll be embarking upon new careers that we haven't even imagined yet that will enable us to succeed economically. I think environmentally, those concerns will be addressed by this new generation that's graduating. Social consciousness, I think, is a big focus that I've seen with our seniors that are graduating. So I'm bullish on America, I'm bullish on our future. I think the candidates, both sides are going to need to work together and come together and be more bipartisan in order to get these areas of concern under control, whether they be healthcare, education, international relations, international safety in terms of addressing terrorism. We need to work together, and I think, my opinion, but I'm kind of an independent when it comes to my political nature, I think this election is going to bring out a candidate that can work on both sides of the aisle. And I don't necessarily care who that is right now, and I don't have a favorite right now. I know who I don't want in office. That's clear to me, at least by his demagoguery that he's projected throughout this campaign, and that'd be Mr. Trump. But other than that, being an independent, I'd be willing to vote for more of the moderates on the Republican side, as well as perhaps the candidate that comes forward between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. So I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go. I just know, more importantly, is where will they go once they are elected to office? And that is, they need to get involved with Congress. They need to work in a bipartisan fashion in order to address real concerns and hurts and challenges that this country faces. Immigration, healthcare, national safety, the economy. These are areas of great concern, and they can only be addressed if we have bipartisan support and effort.
Overwhelmingly, I think our country is headed towards reducing individual people's freedoms. They don't do it in a quick manner. They do it in a very slow manner. That way we don't notice it all at one time. As they slowly do it, it's like, taking an animal and putting it into a boiling pot. You don't realize you're boiling until it's well overheated.
Two directions. It's going to be government controlled, or you're going to be able to hold your own points. You're going to be able to actually have freedom of speech, but everybody wants this country to be sheep. Democrats are evil. Republicans are now evil. Nobody stands for people anymore. You stand for yourself. Those people, all it's about now is a job of themselves. They don't give two about me or you.
I hope you have found the information and opinions given here today helpful in choosing where you stand on the different topics that are important to our country. We thank you for joining us here today on Mr. President. Good night.